Ladies and gentlemen, we're starting off like this now because Dr. Alfred Das just dropped one tsunami, one atomic bomb. You know, we all know about the surgical the surgical machine that was bought. Dr. Alfred Das has talked about it extensively. But what we did not know is the investigation that Dr. Alfred Das was doing and how extensive it was. And ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alfred Das drop a bombshell. Listen to this.
Is where I'm going to leave the questions. Why do it? I'm not going to call for anyone's resignation today. Let the chips fall where they may. There's obvious corruption, blatant mismanagement taking place in the Ministry of Health. I have one more thing to add. The company, and this is further evidence of what looks bad. The company in question is owned by JLP Member of Parliament Donovan Williams, the MP for Central Kingston, a man whose name may be familiar not just as MP, but as a company secretary linked to Estate Bridge, a company in turn linked to Prime Minister Andrew Holness that was under investigation by the Integrity Commission. Is Mr. Williams able to answer these questions? Is Mr. Williams able to say his hands are clean? If that is the case, then he should present himself. There should be a release answering these questions. And as I said, the chips must fall where they may.
Emotional damage. What can go so? What can go so? What can go so?
Donovan Williams. Bossy, you have to come to the carpet, you know. I never even see this brother, to tell you the truth. If me I be honest. Mr. What his name? Donovan Williams. Me general. You have some serious thing for answer, you know. Nigel Clark. Nobody feel like say you escape judgment, you know, cause when did these things happen? Weren't you the finance minister? Aren't you somewhat responsible? Lloyd Fang, big up. Aren't you somewhat responsible? Adventure Empress, big up. Aren't you somewhat responsible, Nigel Clark, for how the monies are used or tax dollars are used to procure and, you know, purchase these items? But that's a ask. How funny Estate Bridge come up? But we are going to rally forward and get back to Estate Bridge. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the donation link is pinned at the top of the comment section if you choose to support the platform. As you can see across the screen, that's running there, the WhatsApp number, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Yes? And the link is pinned at the top. Let us hear what the full sum of this situation is about, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to get a part of it. We need to get the wholesomeness of this situation. So again, let's get to Alfred Das and hear what he has to say, and then we are going to dissect and rip apart all of this.
The opposition spokesperson on health and wellness. Over the past year or so, my colleagues and I have been shedding light on some of the issues affecting the healthcare sector. Specifically, we have placed an emphasis on transparency, accountability, and voiced concerns about the continued misuse of the public's funds in the Ministry of Health. Our concerns stem from issues that you have experienced and voiced to us. Our concerns come from stories that have been played out in the media in recent times. Most recently, and specifically to the Bustamante Hospital for Children, we have seen where we had a baby die waiting on a ventilator. We have seen a visiting team who had volunteered and brought essential equipment come to the Bustamante Hospital for Children to perform scoliosis surgeries on children who are suffering from a debilitating disease, living in severe pain, where their only hope of affording such quality surgery would have been as a result of these missions. We have seen one such mission cancelled because of the dilapidated state of the operating theaters at the Bustamante Hospital, where the AC units were non-functional. This morning, the father of Alexandriana Jones asked me to keep her story alive, where this young girl died after undergoing complex surgery at the Bustamante Hospital. The team was an excellent team. They did all they could do with the limited resources they had, but they had no operating microscope to assist them with such a complex surgery. And when complications developed, Alexandriana had to be put on a public hospital, losing valuable hours to get the next course of action that was necessary to save her life. This because there's no CAT scan at the leading children's hospital in the Caribbean, and has been the case for many years, known by those who could have made a difference. We have heard stories about the ENT teams not having adequate equipment. We have heard stories about mothers, fathers having to sleep in chairs because the overnight facility that was supposed to be built with the Shaggy Foundation funds has not been completed. We hear about the long waiting times of waiting in chairs in the emergency department and of overcrowded clinics. And this is why we have continued our advocacy for improvement in healthcare. We are going to be focusing specifically on one piece of evidence that we have found corroborates what we firmly believe to be a web of corruption within the Ministry of Health. And in this instance, it concerns a neurosurgical drill. Attention was first brought by Senator Lambert Brown in January, where he questioned the expenditure of $31,500,000 on a single neurosurgical drill. The Southeast Regional Health Authority denied that the price was inflated and that this was a reasonable price for a quality drill, the first of its kind in Jamaica and possibly the only type in the Caribbean. I reiterated that call for that the justification of that expenditure because all research pointed that this drill should have been procured or could have been procured at a much lower price. Following a meeting with the SARA chairman, I had to call for his resignation based on his stubborn defense of what was a flawed procurement process. I saw the procurement documents. I saw where the process was hijacked, where an internal source determined that a fair price for that drill was 32 million Jamaican dollars. So purchasing it for 31,500,000 was a discount to taxpayers. The minister, returning from his overseas trip, continued a strident defense, putting out several videos that are still available to be viewed online, in some instances ridiculing and mocking me and my accusations. But we do have evidence that this drill is only the tip of the iceberg of corruption within the Ministry of Health. In November last year, just before the drill was purchased by Sarah for the Bustamante Hospital for Children for $31,500,000, two drills of the same type, EM200, same manufacturer, same specifications, same model numbers, were brought in by one company, the company that won the bid to supply that $31 million drill. On their customs declaration forms, accompanied by an invoice from the manufacturer, we see that it was not a new drill. They were refurbished drills with a purchase price of $1,600. That was the declared value, and they paid $90,000 in customs fees, bringing the grand total, landed the same drill, model number, specifications, landed in Jamaica, cost nowhere close to $31 million, but 250,000 Jamaican dollars. We have the serial numbers for both drills. The question today, we have two questions. The company that brought in these drills won the bid to supply the exact same drills to Sarah. It cost the company $250,000 to have that drill in Jamaica. Is the $31 million drill at the Bustamante Hospital for Children one of these drills that were imported in November last year? Yes or no? If it is a case where the drill that was purchased from the same company just after these two drills were imported is a different drill, what was the justification for paying $31 million for a drill that could have been bought and landed in Jamaica for less than 300,000 Jamaican dollars? Is that a fair price? Understanding that the same company that won the bid could have brought in a drill for 1,000 times less. This is not about politics. This is about the blatant misuse of taxpayer dollars. The question is further compounded. What could have possessed someone to spend $31 million on a drill when they could have bought 100 of those same drills? When they could have bought a CT scan so babies and children would not lose valuable time and increase their chances of complications and dying if they did a CT scan at Bustamante Hospital rather than going to Kingston Public Hospital to have a scan done? Why spend $31 million on a $300,000 drill when you could have purchased several ventilators so less babies would have been dying? $31 million versus fixing and maintaining your operating theaters so life-saving surgeries can go on uninterrupted, so that missions coming to Jamaica to volunteer their services can help those children suffering in pain Why? And that is where I'm going to leave the questions. Why do it? I'm not going to call for anyone's resignation today. Let the chips fall where they may. There's obvious corruption, blatant mismanagement taking place in the Ministry of Health. I have one more thing to add. The company, and this is further evidence of what looks bad. The company in question is owned by JLP Member of Parliament Donovan Williams, the MP for Central Kingston, a man whose name may be familiar not just as MP, but as a company secretary linked to Estate Bridge, a company in turn linked to Prime Minister Andrew Holness that was under investigation by the Integrity Commission. Is Mr. Williams able to answer these questions? Is Mr. Williams able to say his hands are clean? If that is the case, then he should present himself. There should be a release answering these questions. And as I said, the chips must fall where they may. But we do know that there is a web of corruption, and it is paid for in the suffering and death of children and babies. If this is not evil, I do not know what is. I don't know who in the government, from the top down, has a moral authority to call out and weed out those who are involved in this blatant theft and rape of an industry, of a system so vital to us as a health sector. We're asking Jamaicans to be outraged. We're asking you not to let this die, because if you do, the blood of innocence will be on all our hands. I have two files, two dossiers, one addressed to the Auditor General, Mrs. Pamela Monroe Ellis, with the findings of our investigation. The other is addressed to Mrs. Justice Reed, retired Justice Carol Lawrence Beswick, the chairman of the Integrity Commission. We're asking for a fulsome investigation into the procurement process of this neurosurgical drill, and that we see a definitive message being sent and justice being served for all those children, babies, and their parents who have suffered because they have lacked equipment and services, while money has been sucked out of the Ministry of Health, out of Bustamante Hospital, out of Sarah, by what I had referred to before as a rapacious form of capitalism enabled by corruption. Thank you. Aluta continua.
Thank you, Dr. Dawes, for that very informative.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you the question. After this revelation, do you still trust this government? After this revelation, do you still trust Andrew Holness? Do you still trust Nigel Clark? Do you still trust Donovan Williams? Or did you ever trust these people? Christopher Tufton? Do you trust these people? CT scans are not available in many different hospitals, and has been the the sore, the delay, and has caused even the life of people. Kids, you heard what the man said about the father that begged him to not let his memory of his daughter just die out. $31 million was spent on this machine, when the machine could have been bought for less than $1 million. Less than $500,000. A CT scan machine could have been at the hospital where a lot of people needed it if they spent the money wisely. But we have Donovan Williams, that is alleged to be the company owner that purchased this drill, this surgical drill, or procured it. He has a lot of answering of questions to do, and he has to bring the receipts as well. I don't need to tell you how I see this situation. Honestly, I really don't. You guys know where I'm at by now. You know how I ask questions in these types of situations. Ryan Campbell, salute. It appears, and let me say this very clearly, it appears that what is happening here is allegedly somebody, I don't know who, but somebody is siphoning off money from these purchases. Overpay when the value of the item is, listen, them call it hustling in the street. Make we keep it a buck. We're gonna keep it as stock right now. Right? Say for instance, you're a foreigner and you come to Jamaica and you want to get some of that, you know what I mean, that good stuff, you know what I mean, Cloud9 vibes, some of that marijuana, and of course, you know, you have a connection. You make some connection with a local. And the local goes and, you know, find somebody that they can get that particular thing from. When they come back, the price of the item is not going to cost you the price that they bought it for from the source. You understand? They're going to add something on it. Right? And that addition is put in their pockets. Another way is to tell you a price. You accept the price and then know that it's 10 times the amount of the price that it actually is. You understand? It appears, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know which angle that is coming from, whether from Donovan or from the government or all of them involved, but it appears that allegedly something similar is happening here. I'm going to have to talk to the labor right them. You still think it's a third term loading with these revelations? You still don't realize that what Pastor Peter Chambers said and was warning you about for the last year, especially for the last year. Guys, I have a throwback series. I'm coming out with all of those videos. Go to Bolo TBV and Bolo VNR. I started yesterday. Episode 1 has dropped. Episode 2 is coming this evening at 3 p.m. on both those platforms. Go ahead and subscribe and watch the video. Bolo TBV, and Bolo VNR. Alright, 3 p.m. Every 3 p.m. an episode drop. So we're at episode 2 today. For the next 21 days, episodes will be dropping. Yes? Watch them all. And be reminded of what Pastor Peter Chambers has said. So this is the most serious thing I have seen come out. And I remember Andre Stephen saying something about the Auditor General. You're most welcome, Doreen. I remember him saying something about the Auditor General and a report that's coming out on Bangarang. Well, this is not Bangarang. This is Pandora's box. I know Dr. Voss said he's not calling for anybody's resignation because he was being careful in the legal aspect of things. But with all of the stuff that is happening, I am calling for the resignation of every single member of the Jamaica Labour Party. Every single member of the Jamaica Labour Party. I'm calling for the resignation of Donovan Williams. I'm calling for the resignation of Christopher Tufton. And I'm calling for deeper investigation by all JCF. Where the other people them name, where the fraud and them something there. Every single FID, FIC, I don't business which F. All of them need for F and do something about this and do some investigation. Every last one of them. Because this is ridiculous, bro. 1,000 times the price. Something that costs 300 could be bought for 300,000 Jamaican. Was bought for 31 million. And you have people coming out here talking about shower labor right and third term. Do you have no shame? Listen to me. I am not supporting any party that is involved or appears to be involved in anything like this. I'm not doing it. Estate Bridge. The man is connected to Estate Bridge. The same Estate Bridge that came up in the Integrity Commission report. The same Estate Bridge that came up in another report regarding some buildings that were built. And they were supposed to have 2 bedrooms, I believe. And they had like probably 4. Those types of skullduggery. Allegedly. People, pray for Dr. Alfred Dawes. For those that remember that there was an attack on his reputation and people around him and his life, where it is alleged that they tried to poison his assistant, hoping that he would take the fall for it, or they were trying to poison him, whatever the case might be. Listen, pray. Put Dr. Alfred Dawes in your prayers. Because what he just unearthed is Pandora's box. Seriously. Alright? Let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section. Alright? I know we're going to go to questions and answers. My God. No, sir.